Hey, I'm live here. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Robin Everyone Loves the Drake Comic Podcast video page. So I just put this up. YouTube is doing something a little different here. So normally on the YouTube channel, you are seeing Terrence's face and you are seeing mine, or you're seeing maybe Terrence's hands here. So I'm setting up a couple things here. YouTube has changed the way they're doing their live streaming, so I haven't got a chance to get everything up and running yet. So this is kind of me just rambling, killing time as I'm setting this up. So I'm trying to go on to Facebook here, getting as many people in. I originally said I was going to do this Thursday night, and I always say peek behind the curtain. This is literally a peek behind the curtain of a peek behind the curtain. Anyway, so I had said that I was going to do a live this thing that you're seeing right now, because I'm going to do it on Thursday. I had posted on Tuesday, I believe. The podcast was supposed to come out this Wednesday, and I had said due to a family emergency, the podcast is not going to be able. I didn't have a chance to finish editing it. That I was going to have this nice Monday to. After we were on our anniversary, 11-year wedding anniversary trip, we went to Amish country, and I was kind of posting about that a little bit. So we got home on Monday, and we were going to have just a chance to, do laundry and do all those kind of things that you would need to do after a vacation. Just have a nice, relaxing day. At about 9:00, we got a phone call from my father-in-law, and my wife hurriedly gets off the phone and says, "Hey, we got to go." My mother-in-law had fell and broke both of her arms. So needless to say, we've spent a lot of time at the hospital. She's on the mend now. She's had surgery, fixing the things that they were able to fix. That means it sounds like they're looking to fix one thing. So both of her arms are have been operated on, bandaged and slinged and all that stuff. So needless to say, she has no use of either arm currently at the moment. So it's been a little touch and go of kind of like what, the family has been getting together, finding out, she's going into a nursing home for a little while and who's doing grocery duty and all those wonderful things. So that prevented me from having time to do this. So the podcast is going to be next Wednesday. Let's see, get the date here. Wednesday, September 26th will be the release date for episode 80 of the show. So if you've been listening to the show from episode 79, we had recorded the Chuck Dixon Kung Fu extravaganza that went from Detective Comics into Robin and back into Detective. That we recorded it in one gigantic 3-hour recording session. We did that, and I believe Robin, I'm going to get this wrong here. I should have my notes, folks. You would think I would have it. So this is where I can't edit doing a doing a YouTube video. My normal Rob's Rogues YouTube channel, I would film all the stuff not being live. And so let me just get this here. So we had done, let's see. Yeah, Robin 18. So we Robin 18, and we decided also in that recording session to do Robin 19 at the same time to give a little bit of an extra episode. Well, the Detective Robin crossover was so long that it wasn't going to be a real sizable it was going to be a too large of an episode, I guess is the longer way of me trying to say this, a longer episode than I really wanted to have out. And every time I think that, I don't think we want a 2.5-hour episode, Batgirl to Oracle puts out a 3-hour episode. So I'm always like, well, it could. We had the letter section. I thought it'd been just a little bit easier to digest. The sweet spot for us is about an hour and a half is kind of where I like to push the show a little bit. Unless we were doing a movie commentary track or something like that, then obviously we would probably do it in one setting. So that's why we broke up the show. But I think as we were recording it, Terrence, Ryan, and myself were thinking, well, we're probably going to be able to do this in one shot. And once we got past the letter section, I realized, well, we're going to have to break this up into 2 episodes. So I didn't have a new intro for the podcast. So that's what I'm doing right here. I'm getting ready to record the intro for episode 80 to kind of segue into that. So this is just kind of filler here, and we're just going to roll with it. So I'm going to pull up all my show notes and get everything ready to record the intro to episode 80 that you will hear on Wednesday. So then you can go back and say, Rob, I heard you cut some stuff, because at the same time I'm recording the video portion of it, I have my audio recorder running where I record all my intros and the way we record our podcast. So that's going to be rolling simultaneously. So I might be clicking back and forth for a few things. This is how somebody goes insane doing a podcast. So since this is YouTube, I want to be able to show you a few things. I've had a couple people ask from time to time about seeing everything that's back here. So you can see my Batman versus Superman Batcave playset, or my wife calls it the Bruce Wayne Barbie dream house, is kind of sitting here in my room with all my action figures, and there's stuff up above you can't see. And then I have a bunch of artwork that faces me when I'm recording a podcast. So one of the next videos I'm going to do, once I get the rest of the room clean where it's video worthy, I'll take my handheld camera and we'll do a proper video tour of the entire room. You can see all of my Robin stuff. And I'm working on some shelving upstairs in the top part of our house, upstairs, upstairs, where I'm some stuff I haven't had out in a while. A lot of my Batman 89 figures, basically all my movie figures, 89, Returns, Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. And I've got some of my Justice League and BVS stuff here on the table and desk, just because those were the newest things that were out at the time. And I tend to rearrange things. So anyway, like I said, my wife and I last weekend were in Amish country, so I didn't get to participate in Batman Day. Now, I already posted some of these on Twitter last night, and then I thought, oh, I should have saved that for the YouTube channel. So I'm going to show you a couple things that I found in Amish country, just going through some antique stores, and there were no comic book stores anywhere around, obviously, in Amish country, but there's a lot of antique shops. So I thought, I wonder what the odds are that I can find Robin comic books or Batman comic books on Batman Day in an antique shop. And I found a couple. So if you've heard us talk on the show, I'm a little, I guess I wouldn't call it anal. I'm more particular in how I sort my comics. So I think I've said this a couple times on the podcast. I really started doing it during Nightfall, or things like Cataclysm and No Man's Land, when they're telling one huge story, but every single Bat book is telling that story. So I was forever going, oh, I want to read Nightfall. So I got to pull, go to the Batman section, pull all the Batman books, and then go to Detective and pull the Detective books. And then once Robin got his book, then I pulled the Robin book. And then when you start doing No Man's Land, you're pulling Nightwing and Catwoman and Batman and all this stuff. So I decided a long time ago, wherever the story starts. So if the story starts in, let's say, Robin, and then it goes Robin, Nightwing, Batman, Detective, Catwoman, but the story originally started in whatever book that is, that's where I file all corresponding books to, is that alphabet. So I do have notes. If I'm going through like my Robin long box and I'm going, okay, well, I'm missing issue 34. Like, where the heck is 34? I know I bought 34. So I started putting tags that says see Batman. So I go, oh, that issue is in Batman. Well, because of that, I was wanting to have a full run of the Robin books in one long box. So any of those issues that appeared in other stories that Robin didn't start that story, I wanted to be able to go through and go, look, this whole box has a whole run of the Robin books. So it's kind of silly. So I'm rebuying some books again. So at an Amish flea market, I found 4 Robin books. So case in point, Robin number 8. This is Night's End part 5. So this is with my Nightfall books that start in, obviously, Batman. So that's where this book is. But in my box, my Robin box, this is missing. So I wanted to have this as a placeholder. So I will have doubles of some of these books. I found Robin 148 1 year later, which I can't wait till we get to this point. There's a lot of books on the podcast I can't wait till we get to. So we're still a ways off from moments like this, but I love this costume. 169, The Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul. I should say 168 because I did find both. In some cases, there are variant covers. I have a sketch cover of this as well that I actually have with in my Batman section. So now I've got the main cover to go in the Robin section. I had thought that 169 has a variant cover of a second printing of the Resurrection of Ra's al Ghul, and it's all red. And I thought, oh, cool, I have the all red cover. But it is really all red. Even the red up here and the red in Robin is red. So I just have a second copy of the first printing of it, which is fine. So the cool thing that I found, excuse me. So the cool thing that I found is I found some other Batman comic books, but I was like, oh, I'm only just trying to find Robin or other maybe Batman books that I didn't have. So I saw Batman 492. Speaking of Nightfall, from the first book I saw, this is where the Nightfall story officially starts. It has a couple different, beginnings, but we won't go into that. So I found Nightfall #1. I saw it and I was like, oh, it's Nightfall #1. I don't need it. I've got the omnibus and I've got that book in my normal single issue run. And Ryan Haas had pointed out that there's a platinum edition of 492. I think it's at 491, 492. So at the banner top of the bar, it's got this platinum banner on it, but this part looks a little different. So at first I was like, oh, cool. I think I found the platinum edition in a dollar box in an Amish, antique shop. How cool and weird and odd is that? So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. Then I got to looking at it closer and I was like, oh, it's just the normal newsstand version. So I don't need it. And I had only pulled it up to about this high. So when I went down a little farther, I saw this. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully I'm not going to blast anybody out. I saw some scribbling there. And I quickly realized that scribble is from the artist, Norm Breyfogle. I have always wanted an autograph book of Norm Breyfogle, and I think I just blurred out the camera. Yeah, see, every now and then this happens here on the YouTube channel, so it takes me a minute to get this stupid. There we go. So I was like, this can't be Norm Breyfogle. I can't be finding this book I'm in Amish country, which is about 2 hours away from our house. And I'm at just a rows of comic books that are all $1. This can't be that. So I started looking online at people that had been posting, what Norm Breyfogle's signature looked like. And this is in fact Norm Breyfogle. So on Batman Day, I found Nightfall Part 1, drawn by Norm Breyfogle, signed by Norm Breyfogle. And with his health in the last few years hasn't been so good, so he doesn't do conventions anymore. So I thought, man, I really missed my opportunity to try and get anything signed or drawn by Norm Breyfogle, since he hasn't been doing much DC work in the latter years. And then once his health took a turn for the worse for a while, he's not doing any conventions. So I didn't start doing my convention stuff till about the New 52 hit. And I thought, well, I missed my opportunity. So what a gem to be able to find this book from one of my favorite Robin artists and one of my favorite Batman artists, Norm Breyfogle. So this was my Batman Day find that I thought was amazing. So the other things that I didn't pick up, I'd already bought these, but since my anniversary is September 15th, the same day as Batman Day, Cincinnati Comic Expo was going on, and I knew there was no way I was going to get my wife to go, hey, let's celebrate our 11-year wedding anniversary in Cincinnati, which would have probably worked, but let's go stand in line while I buy comic books and get things signed. So I didn't even ask, and she's like, well, it's our anniversary, I guess we could. And I'm like, no, she's been wanting to do a trip to Amish country. But a friend of mine who does all my comic books, we have a comic book service that we're a part of. So I have no actual comic book shop. I have to write down on a piece of paper what I want. And then every month I get those books, or every week I get those books, long story short. So he said, hey, I'm going to Cincinnati. Is there anything you want signed? And I said, yes, there is somebody that's very important to this Robin podcast that I definitely want signed. And I started looking through some of the other people that were going to be attending that show, and I gave a couple other books. So just so I'm a jerk, I'll do the couple other books first here. So JMD, I've heard this said a couple different times. DeMatteis, DeMatteis, and then Joe Delblo were both at the convention. So this is Detective Comics 489. So I've got their names up here written, but they both signed here and then down here. So this is I'm gonna say DeMatteis. I think that's how his name is actually said. This was not only his first superhero story, but it was also his first Batman story ever for DC. So my friend Joe said that he talked a little bit about this book and how nervous he was about doing the book. So I had no idea. I knew it was his first Batman book, but I had no idea it was his first Superman book. So I was glad to have that. So I said Batman 489. I hope I said 489. Detective Comics 489. And then John Beatty was there. So I had a couple books that he was on or a part of. This is Detective Comics 598. This is the 80-page giant, Blind Justice Part 1 of 3. And I got my hand over his signature down there. And another big book for the podcast where I really started to collect comics again. This is Batman Year 3, 373. Geez, can't read. 437, John Beatty down here at the bottom. So those were the other books. I was like, oh, cool. That person's there. That person's there. Get these signed. So the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 books. It's somebody that we've all been huge fans of on the podcast. It goes without saying. So we had interviewed Chuck Dixon a couple years back, and I sent some books for myself, and then I got some books for Terrence and Ryan signed. So this is one of the books Chuck signed, and I thought if I could ever get Tom Gromit to sign this book, I'd be completely happy. So finally, Robin #1, the foil cover, Chuck Dixon, and then Tom Gromit was at Cincinnati Comic Expo. So if this was the one book I was going to send, like if my buddy said, hey, only just send me one book, I don't have enough to carry everything else. He didn't charge for any signatures. The other 3 charged $5 a signature, which isn't bad. And he said you could have dropped every single Robin book that Gromit was on, and he would have signed everything for free. So I didn't want to load down, 45 books, but having Robin #1 signed is awesome. And then I was kind of picking books hurriedly that night. I didn't want to give my buddy Joe, too many comics to take, but some books that we haven't reviewed yet. And then just some of my favorite either covers or stories. So of course, my favorite Batman story of all time and my favorite Robin story of all time is Lonely Place of Dying. So Tom Gromit was on the art on this book. So this is the new Teen Titans 61. So Gromit signed his name here. And I already had Marv Wolfman. So that's Wolfman's signature up here. So it'd be cool. At one convention, Wolfman and Perez were both at. So Perez was on this book, but I only had so much money. So I went more for the Perez signatures. And I did the Wolfman signatures at the time. I've always loved this cover. Thinking about it, I probably might have done Nightfall, Robin 8. I think that's where Azrael, Asbats, and Robin and Bruce Wayne are fighting on the front cover. I think Ryan would have liked that. Like, oh, you got Tom Gromit to sign the front cover. Gromit does not do the interior of this book, but I've always loved this cover. I think it's so cool. There's a Instagram feed where somebody's recreating all these classic covers and giving it a Batman the Animated style cover treatment. So he took Robin issue 11 and made it look like Batman the Animated series, but Robin 11. Again, Gromit does not do the interior of this book, but I thought this cover was always so cool. And it's from Prodigal, which I always really liked this story. And again, I think this cover is just fantastic. So the other 2 things that we have not reviewed yet on the story that I think Terrence and Ryan are kind of eagerly waiting to once we get to the year or chronologically when the story comes out. This is where Tom Gromit comes back to draw some Robin again. He's drawing Robin and Superboy. So I have both of these books. This is World's Finest 3, Superboy Robin. So we'd like to get Chuck Dixon on the show again and have him talk about these two books. And we're trying to line up an interview with Tom Gromit as well. So here is part 1 and part 2, both autographed by Tom Gromit. So I thought that was just really cool and a lot of fun to be able to have these in my collection. And then when we go to review these, I could say, oh, it'd be great if I could have been there. But my wife wins out. So maybe hopefully the next convention he's at, I can go and have some other stuff signed by him. I'm kind of toying with doing some commission work from him. He's only charging $100, which sounds like a lot, but from what some people are charging at conventions, Kenneth Rockfort was charging about almost $300 for about a bust shot, and that's quite a bit of money. So I spend a lot more money, $100 worth on other stuff in here. So $100 having a Tom Gromit personal commission piece, I think would be awesome. So that is the rambling section of this. So I wanted to be able to kind of show those things off. I did on Batman Day pick up the DC Universe app, which I'm currently kind of looking at here, and it's loading. My wife actually pre-ordered it as a wedding anniversary gift, so I'm getting like the 3 months free and all that stuff. I really like it. I think a lot of people would really like to have more content to it. So what I'm going to do right now, before I get into this, I'm going to actually hit record on my recorder here. So, all right, that's going. So now my audio is being recorded for the podcast. So I'll get into the DC Universe app in the intro of the show here. So this is how the show is going to go. Let's see if I screw this up here, and let's just go, and I'll go back into it. You'll see what's going on here. So when you listen to the show on Wednesday the 26th, you can get to this part in 22 minutes and 10 seconds into this live video and go, oh, this is where Rob is recording the episode. And you can go back and go, oh, he cut that part out. He cut that part out. Or this was nowhere in the episode. So we'll see if Ryan and Terrence call me out on it. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Robin. Everyone Loves the Drake Comic Podcast. I'm your host, Rob Myers. Welcome to episode 80. The show, of course, is brought to you by the BatmanUniverse.net. We also are partnered with the Batman Universe Podcasting Network at BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. So you can get a hold of us there on those two networks, the Batman Universe and the Batman Podcast Network. And speaking of getting a hold of us, you can get a hold of us at Facebook.com/Everyone Loves the Drake. We are on Twitter at ELTD Podcast. We are on Instagram. And if you are watching this on YouTube, you can see us on YouTube and see me doing this intro right now because I'm pointing at a camera for the people watching on YouTube. But if you're hearing it in your earphones, you're not getting that I'm pointing at you unless I do this. Okay, there, I just pointed at you. So we're on YouTube, and as I'm recording this, I think we're up to 107 subscribers. So thank you to everybody that is subscribed to the YouTube channel, and we're putting up more content literally right now at this very minute, putting up content as I'm recording this. So if you're only hearing the episode and you're like, wait a minute, Rob recorded something visually that I can see, and I can see all his crap in his room? Yes, you can. So go head over to the YouTube page and see what Terrence and occasionally myself will put up on the YouTube page. You can also email into the show at robineltdpodcast@yahoo.com. So as the YouTubers just heard, but you guys haven't heard, this is, again, one of our classic edits into the show or intros. This isn't a re-recording. The last episode 79, we had done the first two parts of the King Snake story that ended with Robin 18. So as we were doing the episode, we thought, well, we'll do this as one giant episode. And by the time we got to the end of the letter section, we kind of saw the counter on the clock, and we're realizing that we were pushing almost 2 hours into the podcast, and we were going to record Robin 19 as a separate small little episode. So we had the idea of we'll just cut the episode up into 2 smaller chunks, and we will see. This is probably going to be an edit right here. We will uh, re-record a see that here's where I'm making my mistake, which you're not going to hear in the episode. We will record a small intro at the beginning of it, and we'll kind of tie in some Batman Day stuff. But Terrence and Ryan also live in North Carolina, so they had a little bit of rain and a little bit of water. So they didn't go out and obviously do with the hurricane coming in. They didn't do really any Batman Day stuff at all because in the area that they were at, they were like getting some rain, but why be out in a storm? So I was in Amish country, so we all had these weird Batman day things going on. And I'm trying to go back through really quick on the phone, which for the YouTubers out there will get to see this. But scrolling. I think Terrence had said that. See, I'm trying to make this work here, folks. Yep. This is going to be an edit. I know it. So somebody will get a big kick out of this going back. Don't you love how your phone does not refresh when it's supposed to? So anyway, Terrence had said he had done something. I can't remember if he sent me a message or not. Yeah. So this is just a long, gigantic, pregnant pause here. So yeah, what a fun video this is going to be. Oh, I thought I had this pinned from where Terrence was, but if I find it, I will pin it into the show. Yeah, I can't find it. I'm not sure exactly where Terrence had that set up. He did send me a little something that he was going to go try and do, but yeah, I totally lost it. So yeah, this is a complete edit. So 3, 2, 1. Terrence and Ryan had actually a little bit of rain heading their way. So obviously, with the hurricane coming in, they didn't do much at all for Batman Day. I was in Amish country getting comic books and different things from some antique dealers, and I managed to find a Norm Brayfogle signature for $1 there. So I've been posting pictures up on the Twitter page, on the Twitter account. You can see there, and also over at Everyone Loves the Drake Facebook page, so you can see all that stuff there. I got some stuff signed by Tom Gromit, which again, if you're following Instagram or Twitter, a friend of mine went to Cincinnati Comic Expo and was able to meet Tom Grumman. I said, hey, if you're going to the convention, you take some books, and he signed some books for me there, which is really cool. So would have been great to be there, but it was my wedding anniversary, and my wife had booked an Amish weekend for us. Not that I became Amish, but we went and bought a bunch of cheese and meats and jams and jellies, which was a lot of fun. But some of our anniversaries happened to fall on concerts that maybe I really wanted to go to more than my wife, or we did a convention around a wedding anniversary. So I thought, I'm not going to do that to her again. This was something she really wanted to do. So we had a weird Batman day with all three of us. But something I did do is a wedding anniversary gift that my wife had got for me was the DC Universe app that just recently launched on Batman Day. I think it actually launched on the 14th instead of the 15th, which was kind of cool. It's like the 15th was my wedding anniversary. Batman Day was the 15th. And so it was kind of cool that once we got in the hotel, my wife's like, well, you got your app. Happy Batman Day. Happy anniversary day. So I was able to kind of watch some stuff. And the very first thing that I did was I searched Tim Drake. So if you're watching this on YouTube, I don't think I'm going to be able to put it up here, but let's see if I type in Red Robin. There's an encyclopedia page, and so I'm going to pull up my camera here for the YouTube page. So this is going to be really kind of funny here. So hopefully this will work right, that you can see. So if you have the app, I'm sure some of you, Everyone Loves the Drake fans, have done this already. And I thought this might be a short little blurb because I wanted to see how much Tim Drake stuff was going to be here. So I've got my New 52 Red Robin shirt, or well, New 52 Teen Titan shirt on, excuse me, as I'm recording this. And as much as we say, Scott Lobdell, yeah, it's not our favorite on the podcast, but there's a lot of New 52 Teen Titans in here, and also some classic Robin stories. They're not putting like every single comic book up there, but they're saying they're curating, which means it's kind of like Netflix. They'll put a series of books up, then after a couple months or so, they'll take those down, put a new batch up. So you may have to kind of read through stuff a little bit earlier, or they'll put the first part of a trade up and then say, hey, if you like the rest of this, go buy the actual physical trade. So it'd be kind of cool if it was all just bam, all up there and you're paying for the service. I did buy the Batman animated series, actually the Justice League Batman figure, $28, no accessories. I actually bought it from the app. And my wife just texted as I'm doing this. Again, this will be an edit into the show. So this is going to be a fun little thing to see how long it takes Rob to record an episode. So where was I at? This is really odd. So yeah, I bought the Batman animated series. I said it wrong again. 3, 2, 1. I bought the Justice League animated Batman figure there. No accessories. It's just the figure. It's $28 plus shipping makes him $35. I don't think I'm going to buy the whole entire line. I really kind of want the Aquaman figure, but you can kind of see if you're watching YouTube, there's Bane sitting right over there. The Batmobile is just off to the side. That's the 66 Batmobile right there. But anyway, got my animated series figures there. So I thought, well, I have the standard Batman BTAS, the new Batman Adventures, and now I kind of want the Justice League Batman. So I have every version of Batman. I've got every version of Robin that's animated. So I thought, well, at least I'm going to get that one. So this was pretty cool that it says former Robin Tim Drake possesses detective skills, those of his mentor Batman. And it says through his heart may be his strongest weapon. So I was going to read all of this, but there is a long, lengthy read of Tim Drake's history, going all the way from his very beginning in Batman 436 all the way through New 52 to James Tynion's run, Chuck Dixon's run, Red Robin. So there's a really long read here that at the time I was reading this, I thought, oh, I'll read this on the podcast. It's worth just checking out on your own. I think this may be something I'll maybe put up screen caps if people want to see, but this is everything that we talk about on the show. So I like the app. I think it's really cool. I haven't had a chance to delve into quite a few things yet, but I'm really happy about purchasing the app. And it was a cool Batman day, cool anniversary. And I got a few things after the fact and found an autograph by Norm Brayfogle. So my Batman day was actually pretty cool. So now that I've rambled on long enough and I've talked for 32 minutes on the live video, and I'm going to clearly have to do some editing if you're watching this live video, but this is where we're going to get into the show, and we are going to wrap up the last part of our Chuck Dixon Kung Fu Theater right after this. You're listening to Robin, Everyone Loves the Drake, and welcome to the show. And that's where we're going to end this, folks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to the YouTube page and watch me ramble on for a half hour and clearly forget what I was going to say a couple times. So we'll see you guys Wednesday when you can hear the cleaned up version of this intro. So here we go.